Hello everyone and welcome to the Top 10 2018. Yes, it's been another year and where's it gone? Seriously, where has it gone? Time is flying and I'm getting older. Face is drooping, wrinkles are appearing, it's just getting more and more, a lot to bear. But 2018 in general was a pretty solid year, I found. 2017 I was a little bit ho-hum about. I thought it was not as much came out that year I was that impressed with. 2018, though, I think has been a lot more solid. Granted, there have been a few, shall we say, rehashes and, cash grabs, shall we say, this year. But on the whole, there's quite a lot of games I've enjoyed. There was certainly plenty for this top 10. I've got a huge shortlist. Kind of ridiculous, actually, compared to some other years. So yeah, gotta give credit for 2018 to be a solid year. So these are my top 10 favourites, and people on Facebook are sticking up their top 9s all over the place. And one thing that's certain, there's a lot of different lists out there. I'm not just talking about mine to theirs, there's a lot of genuinely different lists. People have got one or two games that are quite similar, particularly if you're Eurocentric, but otherwise, people have got very different sort of games or game tastes, which is great, that's great for the hobby, but it just shows how good a year this was. It's not just the same stuff appearing all over the place like it seemed to be last year. So with regards to my top 10, I've got my little black book. Took me a while to sort out this 10. In fact, I was editing it yesterday, thinking, maybe I'll shove that one up, shove that one down, I don't know. It was really hard to rank these ones, especially to think, what's going to get kicked out of the 10? I don't know. Maybe I should do a top 20 of this at some point. I don't know. Actually, no, I ain't got time. Top 10. I'm going to do another video where I talk about best artwork, most disappointing, most overrated, most underrated, stuff like that. I'll do that in a little side video. But for now, just the top 10. So my usual caveats: must be released in 2018 as per Board Game Geek. I am not including any game that I feel is a direct reprint of something else or feels more like a standalone expansion. So I got to admit, well, to be fair, spoiler alert, Brass would never hit my list, but we can debate all year round as to whether you class the Brass Birmingham as a standalone expansion or a completely new game.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I think it's standalone expansion. I mean, let's face it, it's Brass plus beer. But, you can argue it to say, but to be fair, Brass wouldn't make my top 10 anyway. But this is like I say, if there's a game that's similar like that, I probably wouldn't put it on this list. Other than that, though, I think anything else was kind of fair game, really. And I don't think there's going to be any, shall we say, debating over whether these 10 are eligible. It's just a case of whether you like them or not. So, let's get a move on. Number 10 is a solid Euro game if you like sheep. Do you like sheep? I hope you do. I like lamb chops anyway. But sheep in general is the theme of this game. And water. Lots of it. All flooding in to flood your sheep away. It's right behind my head, I think. Yep, there it is. This was an unexpected surprise actually this year. Lowlands. I debated what to do with my number 10 actually. I mean, imagine, I'm not going to spoil too much, I'll get on to it at the end. But Lowlands was a surprising hit for me. It's basically a Euro game it's not designed by Uri Rosenberg, but he helped out on it. And there's definitely his flavour in this game. And what you're doing is you're building up a farm of, herding sheep. Okay, sounds very Rosenberg-esque. But on top of that, you're also semi-cooperating with other players to build the dike. The dike is holding back this flood. And the idea is not only can you get points for helping out the dike, but depending on whether the dike floods or bursts each round, particularly at the end of the game, it can drastically affect how the game will end and what the final scoring would be. It's not a complicated game, but there's a fair amount of depth as to what you want to do with regards to how much you want to build up your farm at the expense of helping out with the dike. It's just action selection, you've got your workers, but you basically just select from a set of actions on your board. You can improve certain ones to be a bit more powerful, and it's, like I say, not that complex of a game, but it's surprisingly different. I mean, I want innovation in my games, and I have to say 2018 did a pretty good job with innovating with certain games, and they're probably going to feature on this top 10 for partially that reason. But in this one, yeah, you've got action selection, but that dike mechanic, holding back the flood, where it has a drastic effect on your scoring and that, you don't see that in a lot of games, and certainly not a lot of the most popular ones. So it was a refreshing change to see it in here. You know, whether you like sheep or not, it doesn't matter, but I've always liked that aspect of Caverna and the other farming games where, you know, you have your animals and you try and put them in pastures and that. You got special buildings to add on top of that. It looks good, you know, pretty nice, basic-ish, but it's nice, colourful artwork. I generally was surprised by it. You know, people I've played it with have been like, what on earth's this? Never heard of it. And they're genuinely surprised as well. So I figured it deserved to make the top 10 list, just squeaking onto the list because it can go a little bit long if you bring the AP player in. The rulebook could be a little bit easier to get through. And paths to victory aren't as wide and vast as I would like, but it's just a nice, thinky, engaging game throughout. So number 10, Lowlands. My number 9 goes in that right step of innovating with its game, taking two mechanics you don't often see. This time you got bag building and a war game. War game / area control. Okay, that's new, we haven't seen that. You know, we've got Orleans and Altiplano with things like bag building. War game, doesn't usually think you'd think that's going to be the first thing you do with it. This though really did surprise me, and it makes for a very cool 2-player abstract game. And to an extent, a decent 4-player abstract game, but it's really best as a 2-player abstract game, and that's Warchest. Warchest is, first of all, beautiful components in here. I mean, the box, you know, it's a proper lift-up box, which I always like, but oh my god, these coins. I want to get them out. Get out these coins. Love these things. They are so nice in the hand. So satisfying to see and hear and touch. Oh, I love these coins. So many of these coins. Anyway, calm down, Luke. The idea of Warchest is that you are basically trying to control certain areas on the map. Control a certain amount and you win. Pretty straightforward. But the catch is that you have 4 unit cards, and each player, I think it's 4 or something like that. Depends how many players you've got. Yeah, 4 for 2-player, and I think 3 for team games. And the idea is that you have these units, but you don't have all the coins available. You only have so many to start with, and these represent the units as well as actions. So you draw 3 coins out of your bag, and you have the ability to put them on the board. You have the ability to bolster units that are already there, move that type of unit, or perform the action on the unit card. And this could be anything from doing like a double move, or doing a lance attack, or moving other units, you know, and stuff like that. They've all got some cool, unique ability, and they're very different. But you're randomizing these units at the start of the game, and you only get 4 of them, and I think there's a good... How many is there? I believe there's 16. Yeah, so you're only using 4 out of 16 for yourself. Your opponent has 4 completely different ones. So each game feels completely different from the others. It's very tactical. You've got an element of strategy in there, but you've got to design your bag in a way that you're going to make the best use of those units. I mean, do you trim it down so you're only drawing the same 6 coins all the time? Or do you fill it up with a ton of coins, take a random chance with the unit selection, but at least you've got plenty of units you're not going to run out? It's very much a war of attrition, and it just seems to work really well. Of course, leave the analysis paralysis player away, but as a 2-player game, this is just solid and sound. And even as a 4-player game, it's pretty cool, but you just got to accept it's a bit longer. So, like I say, innovation I respect, and this one stays in my collection as a really interesting 2-player game, which doesn't take a lot of teaching, doesn't even take a lot of, learning as such. The rules are pretty straightforward. Once you know what actions you do, the rest of it is pretty simple. But boy, this will burn your brain in terms of actually trying to think of your next move. And certainly, as I found out, I'm very bad at it. But it deserves to be on this list. Number 9, Warchest. My number 8 game I don't actually own, and that's because some friends of mine already own it. They own the collector's edition, and I'm like, you know what? I can wait. I know that next year they're going to print a 2nd edition, and it will probably be available at Essen like it was this time. It will have some minor corrections done, maybe a component upgrade or 2. So I will wait. If I want to play this game, which I do, I'll just play their copy. Because they love it even more than I do, it would probably be higher in their top 10, possibly even their favourite, I'm not sure. But, oh yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful game, and it has a nice light theme, and at first I thought, this is going to be a Kickstarter gimmick. I mean, the giant tree, seriously? Everdell. Everdell is just a very nice, pleasant, almost zen-like game. Not to say it's like autopilot and easy, but it just feels very relaxing when you play it. You have the giant tree, yes, and you could do without it, but it just looks cool. It holds the various workers, it holds some cards, and that it's a nice presence on the table. But what you're doing is that you're effectively creating combos with a tableau of these woodland critters. You know, anything from a bat to a sparrow to a rabbit to a sea otter, I don't know. And each one has a special ability that helps you to draw cards or like a unique special power or victory points. And you're combining all these cards in such a way that it allows you to basically get better versions of those critters, upgrade them to legendary status, to get more victory points, to get resources. But it's genuinely a relatively light game. It's not that heavy. I mean, the abilities are quite easy to understand. The depth, though, is definitely there. I mean, you can create some obscene combos with some of these characters and that. The game doesn't go on too long, doesn't overstay its welcome. I mean, you're talking 90 minutes absolute max, but you can make it even shorter with less players. But it just feels nice. And it looks beautiful on the table. That tree, the little like purple sort of bouncy things it uses for grapes, the resource tokens, the cards themselves, the artwork is beautiful. This I thought was going to bomb. I thought this was going to be some cheesy Kickstarter. Who cares about this? Boy, was I wrong. You know, the only reason I don't own it is because I didn't feel like shelling out the money for the collector's edition, and friends of mine already had it. So we do have a thing where if somebody else owns the game and they're going to bring it out really often, then we'll just let them have it. But I'm thinking I'll get this in my collection next year. Just I'll be patient and wait for the second edition printing. But it is definitely a solid game. I recommend you check it out, particularly if you like tableau building games and making combos, or you just want something that looks drop dead gorgeous on the table. It's one of the best looking games that have come out this year, and certainly that's saying something considering that the bar was set quite high actually for some of the artwork and production quality this year. So number 8, not in my collection, but hopefully in the future, Everdell. Number 7 I do have in the collection, and this is a sandbox game. I like sandbox games. There's ones I want to try, they're just quite lengthy and long, but I love the idea that I can just basically go, right, start, and I do what I like. Do whatever you like, it doesn't hold you back, doesn't restrict you in any nasty way. Caverna is not necessarily a sandbox game per se, but you can pretty much do what you like in Caverna and still score points. It still rewards you for doing your own thing. Well, this is a similar thing, except you literally can pretty much do what you want to do in here. Western, legends. Cowboys is not the first theme I would generally go for, but with this one, you can't help it. Put some backing music on, bit of Western theme, bit of like, you know, guitar and harmonica music like you'd have in the Westerns, I think. I haven't watched many. But, this is a very enjoyable game. And you've got to get into the theme, because mechanically it's pretty sound as well, but there's quite a high random element to a lot of it. But you can, what do you want to do? Do you want to go rustle up cattle? Fine, go get cattle. Do you want to take it to a neighbouring place, or do you want to deliver it to the railroad yard? Do you want to be a marshal and go round up bandits or arrest the wanted players? Do you want to be the wanted player? You know, I'm going to go rob the bank and I'm going to go take the cattle to somewhere it shouldn't. Or I could be a prospector and go get some gold, or get some gold for some points. You know what? I just feel like sitting down and playing a game of poker. I'm going to play some poker. Let's play a hand. I've got 5 kings. There you go. 4 kings and a cheat card. And that's not even everything. There's more stuff you can do as well. You can get items, get mounts, kill bandits, kill other players, get story cards done. You've got your own personal goals. Oh my god, there's a lot of options in this game, and it's not complicated. The turns are pretty straightforward. Once you know what each location on the board does and how the cards work, you're pretty much there. And I love the way the cards work in this. All of them are poker cards. So, as well as being a value for the purposes of winning combat, highest rank of a card wins, you also use them to make sets like poker, particularly when you're playing poker. So, you'll go to the saloon or say, right, I'm going to play poker, I've got some cards in my hand, the flop comes out and you actually play, half effectively, a game of poker to decide whether you win the money along with other players who might be there as well. Each of the cards has got a special power, so you might, I really want to use this Ace of Hearts for this, but it does have a really cool power on it, I might want to use it now. And so you've got lots of choices, lots of options, looks nice on the table, but it's just basically oozing with Western theme. If you love Western themes, there is no reason at all you should not get this game. I mean, I've got Carson City in the other room if I want a Western feel for a Euro game. If I want a sort of a Merifrashy sandbox style game, then I get Western Legends. In fact, I am kicking myself that I didn't kickstart this or pre-order it when I had the chance. You moron, you Luke. When the expansions come out for this, hopefully they'll get a retail release or some other Kickstarter will come out with more expansions so you can buy them then. I am getting all the expansions for this game because the one problem I have with it is that it could use a bit more card variety, for replay value. But if I can get hold of those expansions, whether on the website or on a pre-order for a next set of expansions or something, then I will get them and then I will have even more content. But even as it stands now, it's a solidly fun game. Can go on a bit long with the wrong type of players. I would not want to play this with 5 or 6 players. 4 is plenty. And yes, you've got to accept that there is a high random element. You're drawing cards. You draw cards from a deck for NPCs. You don't know if the opponent's necessarily got great cards or bad cards. You have to accept that there is a random element. But yeah, I get a kick out of it. It's a solid sandbox game and it makes me want to play more sandbox games. Western Legends deservedly at number... Where am I? Number 7. My number 6 is a heavy Euro game. Yes, I do like some heavy Euro games, particularly when they have theme. Although the theme on this one is sort of there, it's not exactly oozing with it, but it does try to represent it. But even if it doesn't have a theme, some heavy Euros just sing to me because the mechanics are so well done, or there's a plenty of options, doesn't feel restrictive. I mean, I hate it when heavy Euros basically go, right, you've taken your turn, now prepare to be punished. That really grates me. A lot of economic games are painful for that, aka brass. But this one just sang to me. It's got a great solo mode in it. The designer has done some great stuff before. Looks gorgeous on the table, even though it's quite a stark look in a way. But oh my god, the replay value of this is so good. And granted, I thought, oh god, this is getting hyped up a bit, but it looks nice. I'll give it a try. Insert name here of the game. Yeah, I hate pronouncing this name. Is that Teotihuacan? City of Gods? I don't know. If you're going to name your game, I mean, at least name it something that's easier to pronounce. But this was getting a lot of buzz at UK Games Expo and other conventions where I could see it being played and it looked interesting and people at least had played it before they said it was like the best game ever this year. It gets on my wick when people hype up a game so much and they know next to nothing about it. Here though, at least people could see it in action. It was working. And I thought, I might like it, I don't know, I don't tend to go for NSKN games, they haven't really put out anything else that I've been into, so I was thinking, alright, let's go into it, level playing field, let's not get into this hype, let's just go into it. Friends taught me the game, instantly went out and got it as a review copy. It was definitely worth a lot of that buzz. In this game you have these dice that you move around almost as workers, but the spaces you land on get better and better depending on how high the pit value is on the dice. But every time you have more than one dice at a location, they also get slightly better as well. But when they get to level 6 plus, they ascend. Ascend with the gods, I forget how the theme works. But then the dice goes away and you end up with a new one back at value 1, so it's not as powerful as it was before. When do you want to ascend? That's up to you. But you've got loads of options. Get technologies, build houses, level up on a few of these temple tracks, a bit like Zolkin. Decorate the temple, build the temple with these cool like white domino style pieces that you build up in the middle. It looks stark, but it looks clean and crisp. Graphic design is easy to follow, the rulebook was easy to follow. The game makes you think it's more complicated than it actually is. Oh, it's got a lot of depth, it's a heavy Euro, easily. But when you think about the rules to teach it, it's like, no, I'm actually getting the hang of this. It's just, you've got a lot to think about. Where do I move this die to? I've got 3 dice. I could go to this location, could go to that one, could go over there. Oh, but matey's sitting there. It's costing me more cocoa to go there. And like I say, interaction is present. Not tons of it. You're racing up temple tracks and stuff like that. But where opponents' dice are has a big effect on what you can do. Much bigger than some other Euro games where it's just a minor inconvenience. No, here, cocoa is a scarce resource. So having people like congregate on a particular location is annoying when you want to use that location for its ability. Great though when you want some spare cocoa. So there's a lot of back and forth with this, but oh my god, the replay value in this, ridiculous. You've got starting setups, which I love in games. I love it when you start with different resources to another player. You've got modular boards, so you can actually, it's set up in a particular way on the board, but you can easily just put these things on top to change the layout. It gets a bit fiddly, but it works. You've got different technologies you can use. You've got the different decoration tiles, the different like bonus tiles that go around. There is so much replay value in this game. And that's before you even get to the cool solo mode done by David Turksey, who, as you may know, does a lot of cool solo modes in games. It's just really solid. It's not actually that long. 2 hours, 2.5. It does the trick. Maybe I wish it was a little bit shorter, but yeah, Teotihuacan is a really solid game. Just leave the analysis paralysis player at home. Maybe play it with 3 max. 4 is still decent, but it can go on a bit long. But 3 players, 2 players, solo mode, pretty sweet with this. This is probably the only, I believe, NSKN game in my collection. They had to give me a solid one eventually. It's this one. Love it. Number 6, Teotihuacan. Or whatever the name is. My number 5, oh god, big game, oh yay, and whew, and relax, sort of. Yeah, number 5, not much of an intro for this one. Cerebria. Cerebria is the next giant monstrosity from Mind Clash Games, and for anybody who follows Mind Clash Games, these guys are just hitting it out of the park with games for me right now. I mean, this is their 3rd game, I believe. Their 3rd game. They are on the trend of doing these really heavy but highly thematic Euros. Their themes are great. They look great. Components are fantastic. Loads of options, not too punishing. But they're just really hitting it out of the park. And Cerebria, the Inside World, is their next big hit. It looks overwhelming as you can ever believe a game will look. It has got a busy board, lots of cool artwork, painted miniatures, although bear in mind this is a Kickstarter version I have. Your retail version will be a little bit different. You'll just have the standees and stuff, but they still look great. But such good artwork and just, oh my god, the thinkiness. It's effectively like Inside Out, the board game. And if you don't know what Inside Out is, go watch more Pixar films and watch that one. It's really cool. But with this one, it's essentially you mainly play it as a 2 versus 2 team game. One side is controlling bliss, the happy emotions. One side is controlling gloom, the negative emotions. They're not necessarily good and evil. It's just one wants dominance over this world over the other. So what you do is you move these spirit miniatures around the board and you place these emotion cards on various realms in order to get special bonuses for the realm or to basically do a big area control game of the various sections. The emotions are all different. They have different special abilities when they come into play. They have different power levels, so they're unique. Your spirit has a unique player power. You have loads of upgrades that you can get to make your various powers better, like moving faster or summoning more emotions or summoning more powerful ones or upgrading them to strong emotions where they get like bulkier and more powerful. And that's before you even get to the B side of a lot of these things where you have more player powers, asymmetric upgrade boards, and lots of other cool stuff besides. There is a ton in this game to enjoy yourself with, and that's just the 2 versus 2 format. You can play a Shaper variant where you can control just one thing by yourself, but the team factor is quite cool because, 2-player works fine. You can just control a spirit each. But with the 2v2, you work as a team and it feels like a team. Each of you controls one spirit, but you have your own emotion deck, but you're after the same goal and you've got to meet these goal cards in order to get to dominance over the realm. So you're having to communicate with your friend but not reveal too much to the opponent, and you can't be a lone ranger. You must work together as a team. And like I say, this is from a retail perspective. I do have the Kickstarter version. It has some upgraded miniatures and stuff, but it also has the expansion, which it does bump it up a mark or two. The balance expansion, I think it's called Force of Reason or something. I can't remember. Force of Balance, something like that. It introduces a third faction that instead wants to balance the two sides against each other. So you're determining who you're going helping at any particular time in order to make them tie on the various goals. It's such a weird game to explain, and it's very heady. It's a lot of thinking. It's a long game. You're talking 2.5 to 3 hours easily for this. It's got a fair amount of setup. You are going to need to check out a rules video to learn this, I guarantee. Even though the rulebook's actually pretty sound, I gotta give it credit for a heavy game. But yeah, the theme just sings, it looks gorgeous, lovely and thinky. We had Dracarion, we had Anachrony. I love Dracarion, I adore Anachrony. This is another hit. What is it with this company? 3 games, 3 in a row. Can they do a 4th? I don't know, but they're only releasing the game every now and again, because obviously they're big and heavy ones. But I gotta say, I want to get this to the table more often, because it is just a really cool, heady Eurogame that I can get behind. No boring industrial settings, no dryness of theme or anything. No, it just sings. You can't help but make references to Inside Out or jokes about the various emotions and that. It just comes through really nicely, looks the part, makes you think, and with the expansion added, you've got multiple ways to play. You know, do you want to play with 5 or 6 players? Probably not. But I can play 3-player with this now. You can play 2 versus 1. You can play 2-player. You can do solo mode, which is pretty cool. You've got 4-player 2v2. It's lots of options. This has got a high replay value for me. Loving it. Number 5. Well done, Mind Clash. You've done it again. Cerebria. My number 4 is a deduction game, and I do like deduction games, particularly when they are quite tricky, let's say, no matter how bad I am at these games. I do like the whole idea of, here's a story, here's a case, you're the good guy, solve this mystery. I've had fun with Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective as a solo game, and spoiler alert, Chronicles of Crime did not make my top 10, but it is a solid deduction game. I think Chronicles of Crime was around my 11, 12, 13, it had a chance to be on this top 10. It's a solid game, you should check it out. My personal pick though, for the one I prefer, is the really thinky one. This is a heavy deduction game. Lots of text, lots of information to absorb. You've got to deal with historical facts as well as the present, take notes, and this is just playing it as a solo game. You can play it as a 2 or 3 player just fine. 4 I don't recommend, but 3-player works really well, so does 2. And solo mode, oh yeah, I mean, if I just want to sit down and burn my brain out with a solo deduction game, this is the one I pick. Of course, that is until you've gone through all the cases. I can't really, I've got to tilt back a bit so it's directly behind my chair. Woo, here we go. Detective from Portal Games. This is, is it upside down? There we go. This I was excited about when it first got announced. I thought, oh, a really heady deduction game that I have to use like an app on the internet as a database for, so I feel like a CSI agent. It just stung to me from the description. But then I played it at the UK Games Expo with several other content creators and Ignacy supervising. Great fun. One guy was doing like narration in weird voices. I was the tech guy in the computer. Mike Barnes, who dares rolls, he was there, and he was just constantly going on about food. Amy from the Game Shelf was there. She was like great as a note taker. Well, she was a great person. I'm not sure her note taking was great, but it was just funny to watch. And we all had a blast. You essentially are solving this case that strings through 5 cases in one big campaign. Each one's going to take you a good 2 to 3 hours to complete, possibly even longer if you're really thinking. You've got a lot of text to read. It tells you this big story about, actually, no spoiler, can't spoil it. But even on top of that, I had the pre-order version, which gave me a 6th case I could do as a standalone. But oh my god, it's so cool to use that app on the PC to try and figure out this mystery, and it's hard. Oh my god, is this hard. I can play it and think, yes, I've done really well, I've got these samples, I know it's him, I've made this decision, here we go, what's my score? Fail. Yeah, literally, it's that bad. I suck at deduction games, it seems, but I have a blast playing them. My only downside with this is that I wish the campaign was a bit shorter. 5 means that you've got to remember quite a lot from previous cases, and 5 is a bit too much. Thankfully though, expansion content is already on the way. I've seen what's coming out soon, a kind of almost like a sort of Californian Vice City type setting, like 80s. And then I think there's going to be a noir one, I can't remember, but you know, he's got expansion content planned for the next year and beyond. So, and they're going to be free cases in the campaign. Perfect. 3, I think, is a good solid number. But even if they just release standalone adventures for this, I'd be happy. It doesn't have to be a campaign. It's just, oh, I've got a couple of hours to spare and I just want to burn my brain with a good story. This one just drips, oozes, splashes, detective style CSI theme everywhere. You know, there's so much description in the text, and there is a lot of text. If you're not comfortable with listening to someone read or doing a lot of reading yourself, you might prefer Chronicles of Crime. I'm just saying that now. But if you want the heady version and you don't mind the reading, especially if you've got someone who is very good at reading, you know, like silly voices and that, oh, it's a blast. It just feels great. Love it. Not even that many components in it. It's mainly that database and, of course, the cards which you can reset to give to other players. Obviously, the replay value is kind of low because once you've played through it, you can't really play through it again. Although it is interesting to try it again at a later date when you've forgotten what it was going on about and try different routes or watch other people go through different routes. It's just solid. Really love it. Can't wait for expansion content. You know, it was great fun. You know, I think I'm almost through the campaign. I'm most of the way through it and I've done the standalone adventure. So I've had great fun with this. Not for everybody, I will say. Not for those who want too heavy. If you don't want a heavy deduction game with lots of text, avoid this. Go for Chronicles of Crime instead. But if you want the heaviness, look no further. My number 4, Detective. Solid. My number 3 is another big box. So big I have to hold it in this hand while I give the introduction. This one was, most games at the moment tend to come out at the end of the year. But the next couple of games came out pretty early in the year. Yeah, granted, everything comes out after Essen or Gen Con, but occasionally you get some big hits in the first quarter of the year, even though it's technically a drought for games most of the time. This one was like the first month of 2018. Some people even might have got it a little bit sooner in 2017, but officially this is a 2018 game, so it counts. But, oh yes, I don't tend to go for this, publisher as much. Sorry about the noise outside. But this publisher, they do a lot of great looking games. And this designer does a lot of great looking games. But I don't tend to go for them as much because I find that the play value, I don't know, the gameplay just doesn't sing to me as much as the component quality. Especially for the cost. They cost a bomb. This, though, is what I defined that Blood Rage should have been. Yes. Rising Sun, complete with folded space insert and the Damio boxes in the other room with all the other Kickstarter stuff. Whew, it cost me a pretty penny. But, yes, love this game, and this is going beyond the fact that the board looks beautiful. I've got a playmat for it, and the miniatures are fantastic, and I don't even paint these things, they just look great on their bases. But the gameplay is really solid as well. You're basically controlling like samurai clans, each one with asymmetric abilities and powers, and it's an area control game, an in-your-face area control game on this map where you're fighting over territories. But there are other ways to get points. Not only are you recruiting units and battling, you can get these summon these huge monsters to fight on your side. There's a whole collection of them now with expansions and the Kickstarter content. But even the basic gives you a decent amount of them. And with these, you're fighting over the territories, but there's cards that you can get which allow you to, score points in different ways or get special bonuses. They create cool combos, so every game feels different. You can use a different set of cards for each game, so the replay value is good. But it's one of my favorite area control games that there is. It looks amazing on the table, but I love this gameplay thing where you select from a set of tiles and the actions are on there, but you don't necessarily have all the actions available. You might take one to deny someone else doing it, but then if you're the team that takes the action, you get a bonus on that action. So it's like, do I want to take it now, or do I? And if you're allied with other players, which you can be at different times, it's a dynamic, I say negotiation system, it's downplay it a little bit from what the hype told you about it, but you know, you can ally with other players, and so your ally gets the bonus as well. So you're going to be discussing every now and again. It's like, well, I want to recruit. What about you? Are you keen on that? I don't know, but that's not to say you can't stab him in the back later and just break the alliance and go do your own thing. It's just such a solid game. I love it. I mean, I'll play it with anything up to 5 players. 6 is way too long. 5 can be a bit long as well, but 3 and 4 players, particularly 3 for this game is brilliant because it scales the map in such a way that you will be going for those territories that get you the points. You're not going to be spread out all over the map, because if the territory doesn't get you points, then why are you there apart from the occasional harvest? So, you know, so much variety, so many cool miniatures, looks amazing, has cost me a pretty penny, I'll admit, but that does not factor into how much I love this game. Granted, I don't think everybody should own it because of the high price point, but the retail version is a pretty good deal for what you get. I just went a little bit obscene with the Kickstarter when it came out. Hopefully, never again for another Cool or Not Kickstarter, but, looks gorgeous, so many models. I've now got the insert from Folded Space, which means setup is a breeze. I love this one. This came out early in the year, and I thought, is this going to be like Blood Rage, where I'm going to be like, looks cool, but not enough variety, or there's things that are going to irk me about it, and plus Vikings, boring. Bored with Vikings. Japanese theme though, get behind that one a lot more. So, love it. Rising Sun, my big and probably most expensive game on this list. My number 3 favourite of 18. I'm really going to apologise if you hear too much noise out there. I'll try and remove it in the audio, but we've got some very inconsiderate neighbours, it seems, just because it's Christmas. Bah humbug. But yes, my number 2. This is not a reprint, so don't even try and use that argument on me. This is not 2.0, this is like 2.5 even. It's such a different game from the original, and the original came out years ago, but it was one of my favourite space games of that time. It allowed you to decide, do I want to conquer alien races or negotiate with them? It was done by a designer who literally does every part of the whole design and publish game business himself. Seriously, you idiot. It's like, how much do you want to stress yourself out? But hey, he's one of the only people in the world who can physically pull it off. And boy, does he create some great games. But this is easily, I've got to think, is it, looking at my collection, is it my favourite space game? I do prefer it to Star Wars Rebellion, yes. Prefer it to Forbidden Stars. Cosmic Encounter doesn't really count. It's not the most thematic space game, come on, give me a break. Pulsar is not even thematic in the slightest, so that doesn't really count. Yeah, I think for thematic space games, this is my favourite. And you've probably guessed it by now. It is Ryan Laukait's brilliant Empires of the Void 2, and again, this came out early in the year as well. I think I kickstarted this as well because Empires of the Void version 1, I loved that game when it came out. It was like my introduction to 4X, well, technically 3X, but still, it was my introduction to that kind of genre. It had flaws, and granted, it needed a print-and-play expansion, a Key to the Universe, I think it was called, to really make it sing for me. But wow, loved it with that included. It fixed a lot of stuff, but it obviously could have used a second edition, and we've noticed he's done it with things like City of Iron and and have revamped to Above and Below to create Near and Far, which is also a great game. But when he said he was doing this, I leapt down in my chair, absolutely cheering and screaming, wanting this game to be good. And I was so worried because I thought, got to be careful, don't get too hyped. He could botch it. Every designer can botch it. Has not happened. This one keeps that same feeling of, do I want to negotiate with races or conquer them? You have the ability to build different types of buildings. You can get all these different types of alien races to join your cause, each with unique special abilities and combat variations. The map is different every game, you know, it's got same pathways, but the planets are in different locations. There's power cards that you draw that have different missions and special powers that you can trigger, and this is the timer for the game. But in there's event cards, and there's one for each planet. You don't even use every planet in the game. You don't even use every event card. I think with the Kickstarter, I think it's in the retail release, but with the stretch goals, there's like 7 event cards or something like that for each planet. So I can't remember how many planets there are. I think you use 7 or 8 in a game, and there's about 9 or 10 in total of decent ones. And so that's a lot of event cards, and you use 1 event card per planet. And each time one comes up, it changes the whole game state. Like you use 1 planet, and the event card says there's a giant kraken monster and it's terrorizing cities. Do you want to go kill it? Victory points. Another one allows you to set a planet to self-destruct, and do you want to save the planet or let it blow up permanently? Another one turns a planet into a gaming frenzy, and so you go there and get lots of credits. There's just so many ways that the theme out of this game is pouring. It is pouring everywhere. You know, I make weird analogies when it comes to theme, I got to admit. But you know me, I love thematic games. It's just something that sings to me. And with this one, it can go on a bit long. That is one downside to it. And it has a bit of a setup. And the rulebook is not perfect. I have to admit, cool, blimey, the noise out there. But wow, everything about this game, gameplay-wise, I adore. I love, there's a little bit of dice, but you can mitigate it. The turn sequence where you choose an action and then other players get to do that action or pay command points to do something else. You can't do the same action twice in a row, so the downtime is fairly minimal. You've always got to be on your toes. The engagement is high. The paths to victory are numerous. And did I mention it's the most gorgeous game I've seen this year? It is so beautiful. The space map with the planets. Ryan Lockett just does artwork that is like stuff I want on my wall. I want this on my wall. I want the board on my wall. I want all the planets and aliens on my wall. They look so good. It is a thing of beauty as well as being a fantastic space 3/4X game. Love it. I was so worried that this might bomb or not do as well, and I don't think it's getting enough buzz. I really think more people need to try this out if you like space games, because everybody I've shown it to has liked it. Oh, love it. One of my favourite space games has now got a nice vamped up edition that just sings to me. And I don't think this has a insert in it yet. Nope, it's all in baggies. So folded space or broken token or whatever, make an insert now. But other than that, love it, love it, love it. Oh, Empires of the Void 2. What possibly beat this? And my number 1 game, and I cannot apologise enough for the noise outside. I don't even know who's doing it. It's ridiculous. I think it's like Father Christmas, like having a go at me for being a bit of a bar humbug. I don't know, but oh well. If you wanted this to be a Christmas themed episode, then consider that your Christmas theme. Whatever. On to my number 1. When a Euro game ticks all the boxes, like pretty much ticks 90% of the boxes, fantastic. It's going to be a good Euro for me. But as I said, innovation is something I'm looking for in my games here. I already mentioned Warchest. I mentioned Lowlands with the interesting dice mechanic. Even some of the other games I've mentioned on this list have used some pretty ingenious things to pep up their game. But, wow. How do you take worker placement and make it fresh again? This is a mechanic that is saturated all over games, all over my collection, all over games in general. Worker placement has been done to death. And it has tropes, it has cliches, it has things that we know about them all, like, here's your free workers, that's it, go put one out, end of round, get them back in, alright, now go feed your people. Now, do you want to get more workers? Well, you better, because you're going to lose the game, go make more family members or something. I like worker placement games, don't get me wrong, it sounds like I'm bad-mouthing them. No, I mean, like Viticulture and Caverna and various other ones. I love worker placement as a mechanic, but it is a heavily saturated market. We need freshness. This game has taken worker placement and done a massive twist on it, an innovative twist. I mean, if you know a game that's like this, let me know, but so far I don't think anybody's managed to name one close enough. And this twist turns this game into something great. And on top of that, it looks great. In fact, the only negatives I can think of this game is that the theme is kind of boring. It's like a pretty boring setting. The title is not particularly interesting, but the theme does come out in a way I'll explain later. But my God, easy to play, easy to teach, short, looked great, engaging, multiple paths to victory, streamlined, twist on worker placement. Oh my God, this thing just ticks pretty much every box I want in a Euro game, deservedly so. And I apologise for the title, because the title really doesn't say enough about Architects of the West Kingdom. This is essentially the next in the line from Garp Hill Games, and also done by Renegade Games, where the designer, Shem Phillips, he did Raiders of the North Sea. I don't own that game, but I'm thinking of getting it. It's a really good Euro game. I don't know if I want it because I'm bored with Vikings. I am so done with Vikings. I don't enjoy them anyway, and now they're done to death. But it's a solid Euro. The other two in that series, not so great. But this is a new series of the West Kingdom, and we're going to get Paladins of the West Kingdom in the future. So, at the moment, the trend seems to be that the first game in the series is fantastic. This is no different. I love this more than Raiders of the North Sea. This is just brilliant. Why is it so different though? Here, okay, you're building buildings, trying to get victory points. That doesn't sound very different. Here's the twist. Worker placement. Normally, you just get 3 workers, and as I said, they're all the tropes. Here, you get 20 workers. Wait a minute, 20? Okay, yep, you start off with 20. You put one out onto a space, you do the action, you leave the worker there. Okay, fine. When do I get them back? You don't. Hey, wait, what? They say, okay, well, when does the round end? It doesn't. There aren't any rounds. What? Eurogamers' heads blow their minds when you explain this game to them. But the way it works is that your workers go out on the actions. The actions are better as you put more of your own workers on it. So the first time you put a worker on the space, it gets your wood. Next one gets you 2 wood for 2 workers, then 3 wood, then 4 wood. And all the spaces have this thing. Get more actions or more goodies for how many workers you have there. Okay, sounds good, but you've only got 20 workers. How do you get them back? One of 2 ways. Go to the town centre space where you can round them up yourself, but you can also round up other people's meeples. Hold on, what? You're stealing my meeples? Yeah, you get in each other's faces. This is very interactive for a Euro. Here's another plus point, another box it ticks. And the idea is that you go to the town centre and you can round up other people's workers and dump them in prison. You get coins for doing so, you get rewarded for it, but effectively you're sort of spreading rumours or telling people they're up to no good, illicit activities, and you dump them in prison, which can, if they leave them there too long, can result in them getting some negative victory points or debt, negative debt tokens, but you get money for doing so, and then the person has to go to the prison to get them out manually. There's no rounds, there's no automatic get your workers back system. You have to get them yourself. When do you get them? Do you survive with 5 or 6 workers and try to manage, round them up every now and again, or do you actually go break out your workers from either other people's boards or prison? And on top of that, you've got asymmetric player powers, you've got the different paths to victory, I've got metal coins for this. Oh my God, it just ticks the boxes. Apart from the fact that the title is boring, Architects of the West Kingdom, really, and that the theme is kind of set in an old who gives a monkey's period of history, it still has some thematic touches for everyone getting in each other's faces and, like dumping them in prison, but also the apprentices that you can hire with different player power, different abilities. The abilities fit the type of apprentice you're getting, so it all gels nicely, but it's just so quick. Streamlined. Turns are super fast. I put my guy down there, I get a wood. Your turn. Okay, I'll put my guy down here and get 2 silver. Your turn. And some turns will take a little longer if you're building cards and that, but they're still pretty short turns. Downtime is next to nothing. The game usually, even with 4 players, should take you no longer than 90 minutes. The absolute maxes should take you is 2 hours, and that's with 5 players and with AP included. This can be done in 60 to 90 minutes with the right players, I guarantee you that. And it has a fun solo mode as well, What else do I need to say? This game literally does it all. Theme, mechanics, innovation, length, downtime, interactiveness, because you're nicking each other's workers. You don't block each other, but you are stealing my workers. It's pretty interactive in that fashion. Oh my god. I didn't think I would like this as much as I did. Because I looked at it and thought, okay, title's boring, whatever. I liked Raiders, but I don't know, whatever. Then the Dice Tower said they liked it. It's like, okay, interesting, but I'll find out at Essen what it's like. Saw it on a table and I thought, and it does look pretty, and I do think this twist is interesting. Let me sit down and play it. Hooked! From the moment I sat down and started playing it, I'm like, I'm going to love this game. I'm going to love it. Got a copy instantly. Bought it at Essen. Got the promos delivered to me later, actually, because I didn't get the promos at Essen. I got them delivered by the designer himself. Thank you for that. But, oh, my God. And I would love this to get an expansion. But I don't want more mechanics. You don't need more mechanics in this. Just give me more apprentices, more player powers, more buildings. I'm happy. Great. You want to put more mechanics in, maybe just a few extra action spaces. But really, don't go nuts. Just give me more of the good stuff and I'll be happy. But, oh, yes. Love it. I never thought I would love this. It's one of my biggest surprises. It's just a fantastic Euro game. You need to try this out. Not saying that everyone's going to think this is the best thing since sliced bread, but woohoo! So good. So good. Oh, I love this game. I can't help it. Other years where I thought about my top, one of the year, they've been like, oh yeah, I really love this game, but the enthusiasm is there up to a point. Here, the enthusiasm is here in spades. I want to play this as often as I can, and I've already played it a good, probably 7 or 8 times, I think. 7 or 8 times before the end of this year. So literally, in 2 months, I've already played it 7 or 8 times. It's and believe me, I know some of you play the same game a million times in a day, but when you've got to play a lot of games, it's a big feat to play something like this a lot of times. And I want to play it more and more and more. I want more stuff. Oh, love it. Can't wait to see what Paladins is like, but please don't keep to your trend of the second and third game in the series not being as good. I want the second game to be really good as well, but I'm certainly going to check it out and any more that come from this guy and this publisher. Oh, I love it so much. On a side note, I found out what all the noise was about. Apparently it was a charity group, Royal Hearts, I can't remember what the name was, but they were making music and loud noises and collecting money for charity. So as much as the noise was a little bit of a pain, and sorry if it disrupted the video a tad, the show must go on, and, well, at least I've given some money to charity so I can feel a bit good tonight. But yeah, that was my top 10 of 2018. Solid year. And there were some other great hits as well. I'm going to do a side video where, I don't know. I'll do a side video maybe. I'll try and get one done this weekend or so, because obviously I've got to think about Christmas and get on with learning for Season 3. Because apart from this video and that side video, I want there to be no more video content for the whole of Christmas. I got to get on with Christmas. I've got stuff to do. I've got to learn stuff for Season 3. I've got a lot packed in for my Christmas holiday. Not much of a holiday at this rate, but, needs must. But it means that I need to cut the video content down for the rest of the Christmas holiday. So you'll probably find this last top 10 before Season 3. Newton would have been my last review before Season 3. I'll do a big compilation review at the start of Season 3 to catch up. And I did the recent podcast last podcast of Season 2 yesterday. It's uploaded. You can go check it out. So I think there's enough content for you to sink your teeth into anyway that I've done over the last year. But a few very quick notes on a shortlist here. What do we got? Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, Monolith Arena, Keyforge, Coimbra, Reef, Yellow and Yangtze, Jewel Assault Island, Newton, Fireball Island, The River, Selenia, Passing Through Petra, Spell Smashers, Dice Hospital, Redcoat, Crowns of Emerald, and Chronicles of Crime. All of those made my shortlist to go into my top 10. I could easily do a top 20, and I don't know how I would rank those other ones. Yes, you're probably wondering where certain other ones that have been really popular fell. People are going on about a game called Captains of the Gulf. I've barely even heard of it, so, certainly not going to be on my list. Brass, I give it respect, but I still think it's a standalone expansion, Birmingham, sorry. But, you know, even if it did, I gave it a review. I respect it. I can have fun playing it. But it was a 6 for me. I'll play it, but I'm not that blown away by 3-hour economic games. They're just not my style. Blackout, again, I gave that a 6. It's got an engaging card mechanic, but the graphic design's just bad. Doesn't look nice on the table. The production quality with the cards, they just wear out as soon as you touch them. The gameplay is prone to analysis paralysis like crazy. The games can take nearly like 3 hours plus, and it really doesn't need to. It's fine, but I want to cap it. There's no point playing it with more than 2 players. There really isn't. But if I want to play it with 2 players or solo, it's probably a good laugh then. But yeah, it wouldn't have made the shortlist by a margin. Trying to think what else there is this year. Come on, there must be others. Oh yeah, Underwater Cities. I do really want to play that game. I love Pulsar 2849. I really want to try Underwater Cities. Unfortunately, demo tables were nigh on impossible to get into at Essen. I didn't feel like buying the game without knowing if it was going to be for me, because every time I looked at it I thought, I don't know, this looks like a very lengthy game. It's going to be one of those, I don't want to play it with more players again. I don't know if I'm going to love it, but I thought I'll create a review copy. Problem is, it hasn't had UK retail release yet, so I just haven't had the chance to play this game at all. So I want to try it. It's high on the list, but just accept it's going to have to be something I play in the next year. So maybe I'll do a retrospective at a later date. And also, oh yeah, it's sitting right in front of me. The Gugon, is that how you pronounce it? G-U-G-O-N-G, Gugon. That is a Euro game that's getting a lot of buzz at the moment. It looks cool. The mechanics sound interesting from reading the rulebook. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet. So I guarantee that will get played. I think that's going to get a solo review because I'm doing it for Zatu Games. So yeah, you'll get a solo review for the Gugon in the new year, I suspect. So do you like these 10 games that I've mentioned? You know, let me know in the comments. What are your favourite games? What do you think about these 10? Did you think some of those ones in the shortlist should have come up? No comments about Brass, please. You know, I've had enough talks on Facebook about whether that counts as one or the other. That debate is done. I'm done with it. You know, let's just talk about the favourite games here. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Have a great Christmas. Have a very happy New Year. I'll see you next year, if I don't see you in the side video, that is. Season 3, it's on the way. Just gotta get the stuff done. Hopefully we can make a start at some point early to mid-January. So until then, just remember that when you're having fun with your family, if you've got a board game in front of you, don't get overworked, don't get hyped up, don't get angry over other players and that. Remember, it's Christmas and it's only a game. So I'll see you soon. Take care, guys.